Hi and welcome to Preview. My name is Giampapa. Preview.
And I'm Don Latulippe.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cue guy.
Hello and welcome to Preview. My name is Giampapa.
I'm Don Latulippe.
And on this program we have a very special guest. His name is Bob Deveau. He's an actor and he's a very devoted Major Mud fan. As I promised you at the beginning of the show, our guest today is Bob Deveau, an actor and a great Major Mud fan. Welcome to our show, Bob.
Hi, guys.
It's nice to have you here.
Don, nice to be here.
Well, you've brought back a lot of memories. We've been talking before the show started about Major Mud and all the things that happened back in those days. That was back in 1962, right?
It came on the air in '62, and I was the perfect audience for it because at the time I was 10 years old. I think it was the fall of '62.
Yeah.
And the Major Mud, for those who had never seen it, was originally just Ed McDonnell, who was the actor who played Major Mud, by himself on a set, supposedly on the moon. He had crash landed on the moon, had no way of getting off, and his only companions were a bunch of termites, one of whom was friendly and one of whom was not. And they were his friends and adversaries on the show. And he would basically do comedic bits, which ended with him getting hit, usually by a pie in the face.
Right. And our friend Chris Vecchia, who was the director of the show, used to throw the pies at him.
Yes, yeah. I've been corresponding with Chris, and he told me that he used to put messages on the bottom of the pies that when they would hit, like this, you would see, "Hi, Mom," or "Hi, Doris," his wife, on the other side of the pie plate.
It's amazing that you remember all of this, the background of Major Mud when he first started. Now,
well, obviously, I didn't know a lot of it when I was watching,
of course.
It stuck with me.
All through the
Mainly
years.
Because, and you guys both know this, at that time in local television, there really wasn't a lot of money. There was not a big budget.
Right.
So you guys would create things out of nothing. You know, cardboard, tinfoil, whatever was lying around. And that just fascinated me as a kid, because even then, without really knowing, I knew this was one set. It was very cheap. But it used imagination in place of money, which was a great thing, I think.
At one time, in the years that Major Mud was on, he had an audience of children. Did you ever participate in that?
I never participated, but I did sort of, by proxy, appear on his show. He had a thing which I think was called letter reading time, where to the background of the Nairobi Trio music from the Ernie Kovacs show, a show that he had worked on in Philadelphia, he would read letters that his kid audience would send in to him. And I drew a comic book called The Adventures of Major Mud and waited breathlessly for him to read, to show the book on air. And I was out playing one afternoon, and my friends told me later that he read this comic book on the air that was written by you and drawn by you, and I missed it.
Oh, you didn't see it?
Oh,
what a shame.
I missed it.
You should have called the station.
Yeah, well, maybe they could have sent me a 2-inch tape of it.
Probably, yeah.
That was before tape, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe just slightly before.
Yeah. I remember tape came in around the time of John F. Kennedy's inauguration.
Well, that was about that time, the early 60s.
I think Chris said that the Major Mud and Feep, his other big show, was all done on tape.
As I recall now.
Pretty much live on tape, but they could pause and do
So
cutaways.
maybe they've still got.
I doubt it. I doubt, because there is no more WNAC-TV.
Yeah, it's gone.
And all those
It's
records
gone.
are gone. Yeah.
For those who are interested, the only clip I've been able to find anywhere of Major Mud is available on YouTube. If you search for Major Mud, there's a very brief clip from a Channel 5 show that they were interviewing Ed when he was, there was a benefit going on for him to get him a new kidney.
Right.
And they show a brief clip from the beginning of the Major Mud show on that clip.
And I was the projectionist at that fundraising event.
So you had that tape in your hands
I had
at the
it
time.
at the time.
Huh?
Don't ask me what happened to it. I wouldn't know now. In the years that Ed McDonnell was at Channel 7, he was not only Major Mud, but he was also Lord Bumblebrook.
Yes.
And he was the voice of Feep.
Yes.
And we have a picture of Feep. Well, we have a film insert of that.
Actually, why don't we, before we go on to Feep, we do have a couple of pictures of the Major, which maybe we can insert these in close-up a little later on.
Oh yeah, there's Major Mud.
There's Major Mud up on
next to Sumner
trying to get
Tunnel.
to Summer Tunnel.
Right.
And this is a copy of a postcard, I guess they used to give away as a giveaway
That's right, yeah.
on the show. So
There
that gives you an idea
was an autographed
of
picture of Major Mud.
what he looked like. But I think for me, his most memorable character was as the host of Phantasmic Features, Saturday night science fiction films, and Feep, who Chris tells me his head was made out of the a gas station pump. He didn't remember which gas station, but Feep was a really unique character because he was the only one of these horror hosts who was not a ghoul or a vampire derivative. He was an alien from outer space, so he was kind of unusual. He stuck with me a long time.
We have a film clip of Feep, and I'd like to show that to our audience right now if we can.
Yeah, if I can just set that up a little bit.
Okay.
When I was maybe 11 years old, I got my very first reel-to-reel tape recorder and realized that I could tape things off the TV. So this clip you're going to see is something that I've recreated visually with the only image I could find of Feep at the time. But the audio is from July 1963.
Okay. Well, if you have that tape, Pete, can you roll that?
Journey into space, destination unknown. Man and machine pursuing the control of space.
It's amazing when Phantasmic Features was on the air. It was on it late in the evening, but then after a while it was on in the morning, Saturday mornings, and I'm surprised we didn't get any more complaints on that because some of those were pretty scary for kids.
Well, actually, Feep was on Saturday mornings, but he wasn't showing science fiction movies. He was showing cartoons.
That's right, for a while.
Feeparoonies.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about Major Ed McDonnell as Lord Bumblebrook. What do you recall about that?
Well, I think it was either on later Saturday mornings, maybe Saturday afternoon. It was called Jungle Adventure.
Right.
And he was the host of, he would show jungle movies, I think Tarzan and Bomba the Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
And Lord Harold Harvey Bumblebrook was sort of this bumbling, surprised he wasn't more competent by now, but he was this bumbling sort of safari guide type who was in this set about the size of this one, from the looks of the picture that you have, with 1 million potted plants and astroturf sort of carpeting on the ground. And that was a funny bit as well. But really, his McDonnell's claim to fame was really Major Mud.
Right.
He's anybody who grew up in New England from the late 50s through the mid 70s or so.
Almost.
Remembers Major Mud.
Yeah. He was a fabulous man.
Yeah.
Ed, in his private life, had 7 children. I think it was 7 children, and probably a dozen Siamese cats. Not too many people knew that.
Really?
Really, yeah, he did. He raised them.
Good for him.
It was sort of a hobby with him.
So if any of those 7 kids are watching this show and you have any film of Major Mud
Please
of your
call us.
dad, call us.
Yeah, 7 kids. Dennis Day did too.
That's right,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, but he was a marvelous man.
Yeah.
Marvelous.
He was very funny too.
He was, in real life.
There were a lot of local TV kids show personalities here in Boston at the time.
Yeah.
There was Captain Bob, who was wonderful. He drew
Trailer.
adventures. Rex Trailer,
Trailer,
who's still
of
with
course,
us. Frank Avrush as Bozo the Clown.
Bozo the Clown.
But Major Mud was sort of, he was goofy. He was very funny.
And that was his fame,
Yes.
being goofy.
Yes.
But you know, we don't have anything like that today.
No.
It's sad. We have cartoons, or we have quote educational type shows for children.
But barely any local TV
No.
personalities at all. And what few there are usually, the anchor man on the local news.
Right.
You don't have people who are there just to entertain you and you can see literally in your own backyard, which was a great thing to feel like you could see Bozo or Major Mud or Rex Trailer in your 4th of July parade coming down your own main street, and that's something that I think kids kind of miss. They miss out on these days.
It's all the almighty buck.
That's
Yeah.
right. It's so
Putting money
different
into
today.
production and making the news people superstars. And that's fading now too, because even NBC is making their department in New York a little smaller, because if you watch the 6:30 news locally, you've seen it all.
That's right. Yeah.
Haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the closest thing to this kind of program that we're talking about that Ed McDonnell was an exemplar of was maybe 10 or so years ago when Pee-wee's Playhouse was on the network. It was that kind of show,
yeah,
even though it was a network show.
It was a good show,
It was
too.
that kind of a show. It was
Yeah.
very funny, very silly, slightly subversive, but something that kids and adults could enjoy on different levels at the same time. And that's sort of like, that's the kind of character that Major Mudd or Feep were, that kids could enjoy it and adults could enjoy it in a different way at the same time.
Why do you suppose we don't have anything like that today?
Well, I think as Don was saying, part of it is economics. And, you know, when you can get anything off of a satellite feed, why should you produce it locally?
It seems like the only local productions we have today are newscasts. Nothing
Yeah.
else.
Nothing else, that's it.
Well, of course, we haven't even mentioned Channel 2
Well, that's true.
and PBS that does shows
Well, yeah,
even
well,
in Boston
they're an exception.
that are seen all over the world.
Right.
Or public access shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Zoom, for instance,
Yes.
is still being produced in Boston and seen all over the world, you know. So God love PBS.
Do you think if Major Mudd was on the air today, he would be a success? On commercial television?
On commercial television, well, probably he would have a slightly bigger budget, and he might have lost a little of the spontaneity that a live on tape show would have. But I would like to think so.
If he were the age now that he was then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would think so, because funny is funny, you know.
Another
True,
thing
true.
about that show is, as I remember it, is he being a very talented man, he would started playing with color,
Yeah.
which he never had the opportunity to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a black and white show
It was a
for,
black
for a
and
long
white
time.
show,
Yeah.
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 But there's one bit that I remember distinctly, and this is an idea, an exemplary of the idea of making something out of nothing. The termites, who were just invisible, they didn't exist. I think it was Ricky, had a trampoline, and the trampoline was made out of a square of wire and a piece of cloth. And Chris, as the stage manager, would hide under the desk and pull it with a string.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the termite
Yeah.
jumping up and down on the trampoline.
How primitive.
It probably cost, 50 cents for the handkerchief
Right.
and the coat hanger, and there you have something that he did time after time, day after day, and made a bit out of it.
You know who else did that? Soupy Sales.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He
did
was
the
great
same
for that.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of his old shows are now available on DVD, some of the old
Right.
black and white shows.
Soupy Sales?
And they're hysterically funny because they're this exact same kind of thing. It's just a guy in front of a camera with a couple of puppets and the stagehands behind the camera laughing at him. That's it, and that's a show.
It's a shame that Major Mudd shows aren't available today on DVD.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
I'd
I
buy
think, would you really? I think a lot of people would. A lot of
Yeah.
people. Would you buy them?
Sure, of course I would.
I would too, for nostalgia's sake,
Yeah.
having known the guy.
Yeah.
You know?
And tell our audience, you talked a little bit about a benefit there and all, so forth. What,
Oh, yeah.
what actually
Yeah,
happened?
that clip was, I believe, to find him a kidney.
Yes, he was very sick.
He was very ill.
Yeah.
And I think
And he
about
wasn't
a year
working
or so
anymore.
after that clip, he passed away.
That's right, he did. Yeah.
So that was,
The benefit was to help him with his medical expenses and so
he,
forth.
he was not very old either when he
No,
died.
no, I don't think Ed was probably in his late 40s. I don't think he was older than that.
A whole lot younger than all of us.
Yeah, that's true.
Sitting here right now.
Oh, tell me about it. Well,
But he's finally remembered, and you find more and more people talking about him online and various
Is that right?
web spaces.
Really?
Yes. Some remembering the song, the IBBY, I'll Be Blasting You
yes, yeah,
song,
Ibby, yeah.
which I'm not going to sing for you because I don't remember how the
Okay.
tune went.
I don't either.
But that was the thing that he would end the show with, is I'll Be Blasting You.
You know, during the tenure of Major Mudd, he did have a sidekick, Billy the Milkman.
Yes, that was when he got the audience, the
Yes,
in-studio
that's
audience.
right.
Yes.
And that happened when Channel 7 moved to the government center, and they had a larger facility and more space to do things like
They
that.
could actually have two people on stage.
Right, yeah. And do you know who Billy the Milkman was?
No, I don't.
That was Dave Rodman.
Dave Rodman.
He was one of the staff
Really?
announcers at
I
the
didn't know
station.
that.
Yeah, he was Billy the Milkman.
So he was delivering milk to the man on the moon.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
That's a long drive every day.
Yeah, I have a picture of that at home. My son was on the show once when he was about, perhaps 7 years old, and there's a picture of him in the audience with all these other kids and Billy the Milkman standing there. I only wish I had a picture of Major Mudd doing that.
I'll bet he
Oh,
was
yeah.
thrilled to do that.
Oh, he
for that
was.
show, yeah.
He really was.
You're a good dad.
Thank you.
Yes.
One of the things about that Feep would do was they, and this is something that people might recognize who know the character from the early days of Saturday Night Live, Mr. Bill, the little sort of Gumby-like clay puppet,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
who was
Yeah.
constantly being menaced by a giant hand and being squashed.
Yeah.
And
Or
Feep,
going through a projector.
yeah, going through a projector, yes. Feep, because he was only about 6 inches tall,
Yeah.
was constantly being stepped on and being squashed and turned into a two-dimensional photograph on the bottom of somebody's shoe, or being picked up and stuck in a toaster, and it'd pop up out of the toaster in 2 dimensions. And this was all happening about 10 years before Saturday Night Live came on the air. So there were a lot of people who from the local Lampoon, the Harvard Lampoon, who worked on that show. So I wonder if any of them saw Feep
Most likely they
being
did.
menaced like that and remembered it when they came up with the character
Yeah.
of Mr. Bill.
Well, I know we got an awful lot of press out of Feep. The Phoenix, for one, it was a large newspaper in those days. They were constantly talking about him.
Were they?
Oh, yeah, yeah. A lot of good press. Because the station loved that, things like that.
It was a unique character.
Yeah. Well,
And there were
Bob,
less stations, too.
That's
There
true,
were-
yeah.
There were
Less
4 of them.
competition.
Yeah, you didn't have
2, 4,
Right,
5,
we had
and
no
7.
cable.
500 channels, you know. You could,
It was another
there was
time.
no cable, and that was it. I mean, so these people who did shows like that became superstars. Louise
Yeah.
Morgan,
Yeah.
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
and others, and Rex Trailer, you know, and all those.
I would
people.
watch Louise Morgan because even though it was a show for the ladies,
They
she
had a
would,
cartoon.
she would show Crusader Rabbit.
You're right.
cartoons.
And do you know that Crusader Rabbit was the prime reason young kids watched Louise Morgan? They loved the cartoon.
Of course
Yes.
they did.
Yeah.
And this guy was in charge of the
I
cartoons.
scheduled them
Were
every day.
you?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
that was part of
Well,
my
thank you
job.
for those.
I could just see him like,
It's glad to meet one of the Louise Morgan fans,
yes,
or Crusader
yes,
Rabbit
she
fans.
became a
as they
personal
say.
friend of ours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she
From
was.
what I hear, she was a very nice lady.
She's a
Yeah.
lovely lady.
She was a wonderful woman.
Well, it's been a real pleasure talking with you, Bob.
It's been a lot of fun talking with you too.
Thank you so much for coming on our
You're
show.
welcome.
Thank you. We enjoyed it.
Well, our guest today has been Bob Deveau, an actor, a Major Mudd fan, and an all-around good guy, and we really appreciate having him. Well, that's our show for this time. My name is Guy Giampapa.
I'm Don Latulippe.
Thanks for watching Preview. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.